Hi, welcome back. Oddly enough, um, this is actually a re-recording of the last chapter because I don't know how to take care of my phone, and the recording came out bogus. But I'm gonna go ahead and reread it. Um, Today we are reading the last chapter to the Edgar Cayce Guide to Self-Healing, chapter 14. Okay. Um, I just put that piece of paper there. Boom. Okay. So you guys already know about my book. I'm not gonna even go there. I'll put a little baby book. I'm so sorry, y'all. I keep yawning. I woke up out of my sleep to film. It's like 3:45 in the morning. I was like, oh my god, I need to film. But also, I needed that nap. Needed that nap. Okay. So let's just jump right into it. Chapter 14. Practical advice for the self-healer. In this final chapter, we would like to deal in a practical manner with Cayce's teachings on self-healing. Obviously, it has been the thesis of this book that without the proper philosophical and spiritual basis, no healing of any kind can be accomplished as envisioned by Edgar Cayce. Cayce was a deeply spiritual man, and his teachings on healing cannot be fairly compressed to a mere set of rituals and rubrics. This does not mean, however, that we ought not to consider the practical advice Cayce offers on healing. So it is now to our advantage to review some of his treatments and see how they can be applied in given circumstances that may arise in our own lives. When people are trained in self-healing, they must realize that they go into this field with that purpose in view. But it is not knowledge alone that makes the self-healer, but the understanding and the application of the principles to the opportunities that present themselves day by day. It is not what one knows, not what one professes to believe that makes a difference, but rather what a person practices. The soul will eventually meet itself upon whatever foundations it has built. So the self-healer must use his knowledge wisely, realizing that what is done in the physical is met in the physical, what is done in the mental is met in the mental, and what is done in the spiritual is met in the spiritual. There can be no escape from irresponsibility. To prepare for healing, we are told by Cayce, it is well that each one in learning what is within self that would make for ability to heal, learn the things that acquaint self with divine forces which are creative and of his making, so that the healing is accredited to his force. Holy even is self, even in that which is healed. These are first principles, first causes. All life is in him, and self only assists the one seeking by becoming aware of the consciousness within. For the kingdom with all its attributes is within. As ye pray and meditate in him, so does this arouse or awaken the consciousness of another that healing may come. There must flow out of self virtue, that is, understanding, for healing to be accomplished in another. And again, the directions were keep on, pray oft, live right. In seeking aid or counsel, it is well that each take stock, as it were, of self, so that the group as a group may contribute, and also learn how each individual may contribute to the work of the group. That there is gain being made by individuals in the group is evidenced through their activities as individuals and the concerted activities of the group. For the council at present, then keep ever before thee thy ideal in the Christ, for healing, for hope, for counsel, for harmony. The peace that comes to all must come through a consciousness of the indwelling of his love and the experience of all. Be faithful then in thy service, and being a channel of blessings to many, be not weary, be not slothful, be not mindful of what is set before thee. Turn not back, but press on to the most glorious light that comes with the closer walk with him day by day. In his readings, Cayce's treatments revolved most of the time around fundamentals. He constantly came back to these in addition to the basic teachings on attitude, emotions, and prayer. The self-healer ought to read these over very often, for they constitute the leitmotif of the Cayce healings. Number 1, healthy diet, one that cleanses the body. 2, 7 to 8 glasses of water each day. 3, regular periods of exercise to help circulation. 4, eliminations for the release of poisons. He stressed colonic irrigations. 5, packs of castor oil used externally and especially on the abdomen. 6, Epsom salt packs, glycothylamine packs, hot salt packs. 7, massages that were made up of spinal oil rubs. 8, use of herbs, tonics, inhalants. 9, use of vibrational therapy where color, sound, music, electrical appliances of one form or another are employed. 10, manipulation of the spine and attaining proper alignment were stressed in many of the physical readings. I said it like it was a number 11, so I have messed up. What we see emerging from the Cayce readings is a pattern of techniques for attaining proper body balance. He stressed moderation and recommended that certain steps be taken in particular situations that would ensure body balance. So he talked about diet and food combinations. He looked into whether there was proper assimilation and utilization of foods. He recommended cerebrospinal and autonomic nervous system spinal manipulations. He watched the endocrine system and recommended herb tonics. He carefully checked all over liver and kidney activity, recommending cleansing diets and castor oil packs in the case of acid or alkaline imbalance. And finally, he paid special attention to elimination and excretion of all waste substances and toxins. Cayce believed that the body, when properly looked after and kept in shape, had the potential to regenerate itself in 7 years. So that is why he always urged patience, persistence, and discipline. Go slow or make haste slowly. Be patient with self and with others. Do not work self into a state of over anxiety at the changes that will be found, or attempt to use up the strength and vitality mentally and physically to gain or maintain those balances that once were held in relationships to these. For these will come in their normal time. Forget not the source of thine inspiration and self, for they must be in the God of life, of truth, of hope, of love. Cayce gave over 14,238 readings, we are told. And he did not just give out rituals, but rather persistently advised that people choose a spiritual ideal and then always behave in accordance with the chosen ideal. He wanted us to consider the body as something holy, as indeed the temple of God. And so, in our attempts at self healing, Cayce wants us to go slowly, not to be in a hurry. He called for unselfishness and did not want the self healer to attempt to build a self image and the ego simply in an attempt to gratify the lower senses. Cayce's major thrust in all of his readings was on a personal application of self with a sincere attempt at serving others. When asked what was the law of love, he replied, giving. As is given in this injunction, love thy neighbor as thyself, as is given in the injunction, love the Lord thy God with all thine heart, thine soul, and thine body. Remember, there is no greater biblical statement than the injunction, God so loved creation or the world as mankind as to give his only begotten Son for their redemption. How, if we as individuals upon the earth plane have all of the elementary forces that make to the bettering of life and have not love, we are as nothing, nothing. In many, many ways, may the manifestations of the law of love be shown, but without the greater love, even as the Father giveth, even as the soul giveth, there is no understanding and no compliance of the forces that make our latter law to this. Jesus' last commandment or effect. What Cayce is telling the self-healer is rather simple, yet direct. One learns self-healing for the self, but it ought not to stop there. Service is really the path to enriching and balancing the self. Cayce is calling all self-healers to service, not so that they neglect their own needs, but with the realization that true love means sharing and giving of the self. A writer once listed all the spiritual factors for consideration in health and healing according to the teachings of Edgar Cayce. We would like to list them also for the benefit of the self-healer. 1. Consideration of the whole person with man as a spiritual being. 2. Mental, emotional conditions, karma, can maintain health or bring about illnesses or accident. Astrological aspect too can be involved here. 3. There are no incurable diseases, only incurably stubborn minds and bodies. 4. Some people can only face the reality of their past errors by having their noses rubbed in it, so to speak. The karmic situations noted in the multiple sclerosis cases are good examples of this. Number 5. Serious diseases require serious changes in attitude by the patient, faith, acceptance, optimism, cooperation, etc. Number 6. Dominant responsive relationships between doctor, patient, healers and others are extremely important. In order for a patient to respond favorably to treatment and therapy, there must be a mutual acceptance and respect. Number 7. Positive negative attitudes of doctors, nurses, healers, and family can strongly affect a patient even though the patient is unconscious. Number 8. The above holds true also in maternity cases and even for the newborn child. Number 9. All treatment and therapy should be directed toward bringing about normal body balances. Number 10. All healing as in the gift of life itself comes from the Creator. Number 11. No man or woman should ever think he is the only source of healing. Individuals can only be channels for healing. Number 12. Spiritual healing, seemingly miraculous, does happen. In medical terminology, this is known as spontaneous remission. Number 13. To die in the earth is to be reborn on the other side, for life goes on both there and here. Number 14. Prayers for the sick as well as prayers by the sick are very important. And the prayer ought to be, let thy will be done. One should not pray that another person be made well, but rather that healing be accomplished according to the will of God in the matter. For some, death may be the healing. Number 15. Healing affirmation to be repeated several times during the period when the self-healer is during his meditation. Father God, I will the life force to flow through each cell of my being throughout the entire day, healing, regenerating this entire form and spirit. Number 16. It is suggested that the self-healer write this formula on a small card and before meditating each day, recite it 5 times and then go into meditation. Also, before retiring at night, the self-healer ought to recite the formula again and at least 20 times going into the relaxing state of sleep with these words on his mind and his heart and in his heart. Now we would like to deal with Cayce's quite practical advice on healing, whether this healing be for ourselves or for others. Because of the vast scope of Cayce's advice in this area, we will use a question and answer form. Pay close attention to Cayce's answers, for he is a man of few words. He is direct and really a no-nonsense person. Every word he uses is for a purpose. Question: what should the self-healer expect? Answer: expect much, you will obtain much. Expect little, you will obtain little. Expect nothing, you will obtain nothing. For he that expects much, if he lives and uses that in hand day by day, shall be full to running over. Question: is there any danger in trying to heal someone else? Answer: after a long pause, questions with the promise that has just been made. Excuse me. Question: how do we know when to help an individual? Answer: do with thy might what thy hands, hearts, minds, and souls find to do, leaving the increase, the benefits in his hands, who is the giver of all good and perfect gifts. Be not faint-hearted, because that is not accomplished in a moment, as thou seest. What is eternity to a single experience? No good shall return to me empty-handed. Dost thou believe this? Then thou knowest that what is given out must return full measure. How do we know clients are cooperating? They will say so if they are. If they don't say so, they are not. Could so and so be healed through me, and in what way? By first bringing answer, by first bringing about so and so's sincere desire to be healed, then there may be raised within self that which will overcome those destructive forces which are eating at the vitals of the physical body. But first there must be the desire, and that can only come within self. Question: what is the key to health? Answer: the key to health is prevention. Question: what is the nature and source of an individual's aura? Answer: auras are twofold, that which indicates the physical emanations and that which indicates the spiritual development. These, when they are kept more in accord with the experience of individuals, make for a greater unification of purpose and ideal. The aura, then, is the emanation that arises from the very vibratory influences of an individual mentally and spiritually, especially from the physical forces. Question: what general rules and precautions should I take to keep in a healthy condition? Answer: as has been indicated, do not drink, but eat properly. Do not abuse the body, either mentally or physically, but most of all by alcohol, and especially hops or the products of same, or even the carbonated waters are harmful for this body, and of course the strong drinks are more harmful. For too much of anything, as of hops or alcohol, reaction with same with the very nature of the disturbance, produces in the liver, in the kidneys, the disturbances that destroy the effect of that plasm in the blood, which aids in the eliminations of used energies and produces toxic forces in the body. Question: what preparations should I make for self-healing? Answer: but to prevent physical harm, mental harm, attune self and body and mind with that influence by which the entity seeks to be directed. Not haphazardly, not ye will serve the living God within thee, through thee, or those influences of knowledge without wisdom that would enslave or empower thee with material things which only gratify the moment. Thus ye may constructively use that ability of spiritual attunement which is the birthright of each soul. Ye may use it as a helpful influence in thy experiences in the earth, but make haste slowly, prepare the body, prepare the mind before ye attempt to loosen it in such manner that it may be taken hold upon by those influences which constantly seek expressions of self rather than of a living, constructive influence of a crucified Savior. The crucified desire um, is self, that ye may be awakened to the real abilities of helpfulness that is within thy grasp. Question: can I lead a normal life when I become a self-healer? Answer: take time to add something to your mind, mentally and spiritually, and take time to play a while with others. There are children growing. Have you added anything constructive to any child's life? You'll not be in heaven if you're not leaning on the arm of someone you have helped. You have little hope of getting there unless you do help someone else. Do that, live a normal life, and you'll live a heap longer and be worth a heap more than in the position you occupy. For it is not what you do, but what you really are that counts. That shines through what you really are much more than what you say. Question: how much rest should I take? Answer: we find that these conditions arose as a result of what might be called occupational disturbances. Not enough time in the sun, not enough hard work, plenty of brain work. True, but the body is supposed to coordinate the spiritual, mental, and the physical. He who does he who does not give recreation a place in his life and the proper tone to each of the phases, well, he just fools himself. Someday, as in this body at present, he pays the price. There must be certain amounts of rest. These are physical, mental, and spiritual necessities. Didn't God make man to sleep at least a third of his life? Consider that this is what the Master meant when he said, "Consider the lilies of the field, how they grow. Do they grow all the while or look messy and dirty at times? So it is well for people, individuals like this entity, to get their hands in the dirt at times and not to be a white-collared man all the time. These are natural sources of what was these are natural sources of what was man-made. Don't be afraid to get a little dirt on you once in a while. You must eat a certain amount of dirt, else you'll never get well balanced. For it is earth from which all conditions arise. Of dust is man made, and to dust he returns." Question. After raising of the Christ, vibrations in ourselves, should each of us as individuals send these as individuals or through any one of our group? Answer. Where two or three are gathered in my name, there I will be in the midst of them, whether in thought or in person. Destin Designations for individual separations within the group have been outlined, such as one choosing the needs of those seeking the aid, one designated who will be the messenger, together with the aid of the group in prayer and in the thought to be raised within the person to be aided. Come together with one mind and one purpose, with one cleansing himself in mind and body to be the messenger or channel for that individual. Each one seeking for aid may then be aided according to the faith of those who seek to aid in his name. This makes for strength of union in a group rather than individual strength, for an individual may find in self turmoils, so that when I would do good, evil is present. Question. Will the forces please outline the form of letter that should be sent to those desiring our aid, so that we may do things in decency and order? Answer. It should be outlined that there must be a wholehearted cooperation upon the part of those desiring aid, and that insofar as individual consciousness may be raised in him through the cooperative forces of the group as members pray with them, to that extent they may receive what is being sought. Their full name and their address should be obtained, and their periods of meditation should be established in accord with these seeking to aid. Then the group may call itself by that name which seemeth to express what it desires to accomplish in its efforts, to be an aid for others, the helpful group, the aiding group, the glad group, or whatever the group represents physically. See? Question. How do we approach healing? Answer. First, analyze self as to self's ideals, self's principles. For know the earth and all therein is the Lord's. All thine own is lent thee, not thine but lent thee. Keep it inviolate, knowing the rules as thou hast, disobey not. What should I remember while diagnosing? Question. What should I remember while diagnosing? Answer. Physical manifestations in the body are the result of the activity of the mind and the soul upon relationships which exist between the individual's conditions or circumstances. Choices made by individuals in their relationships bring good or bad, or there is each day set before us life and death, good and evil we must choose. The constant thinking, the constant thought of hate, malice, jealousy brings physical conditions as a result in the physical body, as it does in a state or a nation. It is such results that produce warring conditions of nations, disturbances in the body. Change the thoughts, and you will change the effect upon the body. Remember the law, and the law of the Lord is perfect. As the mental, spiritual, and physical laws are kept more in a unison of purpose, a more perfect balance is kept in the whole body. Question. What is the way to ensure self-healing? Answer. To make corrections for mental conditions is to fill the mental forces of the body with such plenteous love of the Master and his oneness with the Father that no place is found for entrance of that which would beguile, or make weak, or make afraid. For as has been given, let that mind be in you what is in you which was in Jesus the Christ, who took no thought of the morrow, for the morrow brings forth the evil sufficient unto itself. He made his life of no estate, that others might know the love and fatherhood of God, and that he, the Christ, might become the living way, the approach to the Father. What thou askest in my name, believing ye shall have. If ye love me, keep my commandments, and I will come and dwell in thy heart. This means I will so fill your mind, your mental forces with good, that all else shall be driven away. This then is the way of correcting the mental forces of this entity or any other entity. Let that mind be in you which was in Jesus. Question: how should the self-healer behave? Answer: be not fault-finding ever, for when ye find fault, ye may be sure others will find fault with thee. Let peace, then mercy guide thy words and the activities day by day. Question: what is the goal of the self-healer? Answer: the greater an individual, the more content an individual may be. Not as an animal that is satisfied with the body filled, but rather that contentment that is seen in the acts of those that bring joy with the expression of themselves, as a bird in song, a bird in flight, an animal in the care of its young. That is contentment. The other is lethargy. Question: how does the healer acquire poise and overcome timidity? Answer: be yourself. The entity often rather belittles self's abilities. Humbleness is well, but who lighteth the candle and putteth it under a bushel? For while selflessness is the law, to belittle self is a form of selfishness and not selfless. Question: what is a life prolonging formula for the healer? Answer: and know if ye would take each day through thy experience 2 almonds, ye will never have skin blemishes, ye will never be tempted ever in body toward cancer, nor toward those teachings that make blemishes in the body forces themselves. And the oil rubs once a week, you will never have rheumatism, nor those concurrent conditions from stalemate in liver and kidney activities. Question: what is the formula for overall care of the body? To answer: to 6 ounces of peanut oil, add 2 ounces of olive oil, 2 ounces of rose water, 1 tablespoon lanolin dissolved. This would be used after a tepid bath in which the body has remained for at least 15 to 20 minutes, giving the body then a thorough rub with any good soap to stimulate body forces. And afterwards massage the solution after shaking it well. Of course, this will be sufficient for many times. Shake well and pour into an open saucer or the like, dipping fingers and same. Begin with the face, neck, shoulders, arms, and then the whole body would be massaged thoroughly with the solution, especially in the limbs and the areas that would come across the hips, across the body, across the diaphragm. This will not only keep a stimulation in the body, but will aid in keeping the body beautiful. That is as to any blemish of any nature. Question: how does the self-healer handle disturbances in the glandular system? Answer: about twice a month, we should have the mud packs, face and neck, across the shoulders and upper portions of the neck, especially extending over the area of the thyroids as an astringent and as a stimulation for a better circulation throughout the system. Should the self-healer take sunbaths? Question: should the self-healer take sunbaths? Answer: sunbaths are of benefit to most bodies, would be helpful to this body if not too much is given, for it enlivens the capillary circulation. Question: about how long at a time? Answer: 20 to 30 minutes, not longer. Question: each day? Answer: each day. Question: what is the worth of olive oil in self-healing? Answer: olive oil properly prepared, hence olive oil should always be used, is one of the most effective agents for stimulating muscular activity or mucous membrane activity that may be applied to a body. Question: what is the value of peanut oil? Answer: if they peanut oil rubs are taken once a week, it is not too often. It is not too often, for they do supply energies to the body. Question: should the self-healer reveal his secret? Answer: you have recipes all your own. Keep them, but give them away if you would keep them. For remember, you can never lose anything that really belongs to you, and you can't keep that which belongs to someone else. No matter if it is spiritual, mental, or material, the law is the same. Know that what is truly thine cannot be taken away from thee, nor is any real character ever lost. Question: What should motivate the self-healer? Answer: ever a worker as the bee? Yes, but in that way in which it is ever a contribution to making thy portion of the earth a more beautiful place for men to live. It is by thy smile and not a word spoken that the day may be made brighter for many a soul, and any making the day brighter, even for a moment, ye have contributed to the world, the whole world of affairs. Question: what causes cancer? Answer: the conditions as are produced about such spots are more from poor eliminations as are shown in the body and the nerve reaction as is seen than that of the tendency towards cancerous condition. For as we have given, cancerous conditions are where cellular forces have congregated on account of irritation or poor elimination and irritation following, and the system attempting to relieve same sets up from broken cellular tissue the condition from within which becomes malignant. In this body, there is not an indication at present of any malignant serum or tissue in the body. There are indications of poor eliminations and misdirected nerve tissue. See? Question: isn't patience necessary for the self healer? Answer: don't be impatient. Did the disease grow in a day? Don't expect it to be eliminated in a day or a month. It took years to grow and it will require several months to disappear, but it will be eliminated if we follow through. It is just as bad to overdo in taking the medicines as it is to underdo. Do as given. Question: does camphorated oil have any value in self-healing? Answer: camphorated oil is merely the same basic forest olive oil to which has been added properties of camphor in more or less its raw state than the spirits of same. Such activity in the epidermis is not only to produce soothing to the affected area, but to stimulate the circulation in such effectual ways and manners as to combine with the other properties and manners. Nope, I'm so sorry. My eyeballs are blending with the other properties and bringing what will be determined in the course of 2 to 2.5 years a new skin. Question: of what use are sedatives in self-healing? Answer: a bromide of any nature must eventually become destructive to the physical forces of a body. A hypnotic of any nature, if continued to be used, must be destructive to the better functioning of the body. Sedatives and hypnotics are destructive forces to brain and nerve reflexes. Question: what is the value of silicone? I always mess up this word. Silicone. CYCLIC. I always mess up this word. Dosages and self-healing. Answer: take periods of specific medication, not continued every day, but for a week every day. Rest a week and begin again. This is cyclic dosage. These are more effective than if continued for any property, for this may be said to be the manner in which outside influence acts upon not only this body, but any body. To continue the use of any one influence that is active upon the body continually is to cause those portions of the system that produce the same to lose their activity or their significance and depend upon the supply from without. But to give stimulation to the system and then refrain from saying cyclic, cyclic. Yep, I always jack this word up. That word, dosage, tends to produce in the body that necessary reaction in the glandular system and in the functioning of the organs. For the body, normal produces within itself the necessary elements for its continual reproduction of itself at all times. What is the value of water in self-healing? Answer: there should be more water taken into the system in a more consistent manner so that the system, especially in the hepatics and kidneys, may function normally, thus producing correct eliminations of droses in the system. For there are many channels of elimination from the system, and for this reason, each channel should be kept in equilibrium with the other channels, so that there is not an attenuated condition in any one of the eliminating functions. There should not be an overtaxing of the lungs, liver, nor respiratory, but all should be kept in an equal manner. Lack of this water in the system creates an excess of such elimination, which should normally be cleansed through the alimentary canal and the kidneys so that droses are forced back into the capillary circulation. Always drink plenty of water before meals and after meals. When any food value enters the stomach, it immediately becomes a storehouse or a medicine chest that may create all the elements necessary for proper digestion within the system. If this first is acted upon by pure water, the reactions are more nearly normal. Also, therefore, each morning upon arising, first take a half to 3/4 of a glass of warm water, not so hot that it is objectionable, not so tepid that it makes for sickening, but this will clarify the system of poisons. Question: how does the self-healer deal with arthritis? Answer: those who would take a peanut oil week each those who would take a peanut oil rub each week need never fear arthritis. Question: how does the self-healer deal with ulcers? Answer: be constructive mentally. Don't build poisons as fast as you eliminate them. Question: how may the self-healer improve himself mentally and spiritually so that his physical condition is aided? Answer: by keeping ever in the attitude of knowing that you are healed through faith and not of yourself, by correction of the physical forces pertaining to the body, by compliance with divine law. The proper conditions come as a gift of the Creator. What is the importance of exercise to self-healing? It's well that every body, take exercise to counteract the daily routine activity so as to produce rest. Common or ordinary understanding should give one the correct idea as to how the application of exercise deals with the body. If a little thought is given to this, that the body is built up by the radiation of vibratory forces from each and every unit of the body functioning in the proper manner, then to over-exercise any portion not in direct need of same to the detriment of another is to hinder wonderful and necessary in little or few take as much as is needed in a systematic manner. Use common sense and use discretion. We come now to the conclusion of our treatise on self-healing as taught by Edgar Cayce. We have learned a lot of theory and but a smattering of practical suggestions, but this was done purposely. We know now that Cayce expects from our healing efforts, and we should not lack for opportunities in our own lives and those of our family and friends to practice the teachings of Cayce on healing. Where do we begin? Whenever Cayce was asked what to do first, he would say, begin where you are, do what is at hand. You will be successful in self-healing if you are joyful and happy, and this is the last lesson Cayce teaches us. Bless ye the Lord, and know that his ways are not past finding out to those that diligently seek to know him. Be in prayer oft, be ye joyous in thy walks before men. For the Lord loveth cheer. See the beauty in the earth, in thy friend, in thy neighbor, ye even in those that would speak evil of thee. For as the Spirit of truth moveth through thy words, through thy acts before men, it is the Spirit of God. Do thy bit, even as the Lord giveth thee the opportunity day by day. Rather be joyous in thy living, in thine associations, in thy activities ever, for joy and happiness beget joy and happiness, unless the import be of a selfish nature. All right. Okay. We are done with the book, and my eyeballs are blending because I know it's probably like 4:30 in the morning. These readings are so long. The last few chapters are pretty long. Um, thank you for joining me on this journey with this book. I have many more books to read that I own, at least. And I am going to also get started on my Healing Our Inner Child series very, very soon, actually. I actually want to start that after this chapter is posted. But you guys, stay beautiful, love yourself, love thy neighbors. Even if you don't like your neighbor, just understand that they're going through something as well, just as you have gone through something before. Be patient with yourself, be patient with others. Um, yeah, just take care of yourself. Bye, guys.